Hello everyone and welcome back to Final Fantasy Tactics Advanced. Episode 20 apparently. Again, this is post-commentary as the episode before, and the episode after this will also be. Or has been and will be, respectively. Anyway, I think this time we're going to be doing the Lost Ring side mission. Requiring us to win a battle. I believe I get a random encounter in this one. I might, because I was being careless. I'm also still doing some silly stuff because I haven't played on emulator for a while, so I'm not 100% with the controls basically. I would love to be able to record this from my actual device. I used to have the ability to do that. This is a Game Boy Advance game. You can go on a GameCube and use the Game Boy player on that. And you can record that quite easily. I think capturing a Game Boy Advance directly is not possible without substantial hardware modifications, so that's out. And I used to have, well, I still have a friend, well, acquaintance, let's say, these days, but anyway, he used to live about 5 minutes away from here on foot, and he had a GameCube, and he also had a capture card. So I basically asked him, and he said, yeah, sure, I'm not using that thing these days anyway. I think he used the capture card to record some other console, but he's kind of stopped doing that. I believe it was some kind of Call of Duty stuff he was doing. Anyway, not really relevant. And he said, yeah, sure, you can borrow that stuff and just use that to record if you like. I'm not using it anyway, so fine. Which had been the plan, but he has eventually moved away, so he's now about 2 hours away by car, making it pretty impossible to regularly just borrow his stuff. And if I just went there and kind of took the thing, well, not took it, but let him know and borrow it, he would not have it back in a while, and he would prefer to have access to it if he wants it, basically. So it's not gonna happen, and I don't know anyone else who's kind of in range who would be able to lend me that hardware. I mean, I also have a Nintendo DS, and I can play my Game Boy Advance games on that. But again, I have no means of recording from that. And I believe recording from DS, and especially 3DS, is a huge pain. I think for the DS it might still be fairly feasible, but I know the 3DS, you need to pay a ridiculous amount of money for a specific piece of hardware, which is a huge chunk of just plastic that you have to actually screw onto your device to be able to capture the video feeds from it, so that's right out. So sadly I have to play an emulator. I guess I could play with a standard controller to be a little more true to the formula. I guess I have an Xbox controller which I could use, but I'm not so sure about that. Don't think that would make it much easier. Anyway, we're doing this mission. It's just a standard kill all enemies thing. If this were a Fire Emblem game, you could probably get a thief to stand on a specific tile and just find the ring that you're supposedly looking for. But this is not a Fire Emblem game, so there is no feature like that. Means to find the ring you have to kill all enemies. At least I don't think there's a feature like that. I would be surprised if there was. I've never seen anything like that in this game. And I have done, I think at this point, 3 complete playthroughs of the game. I have never yet completely... I've never gotten 100% in it, basically. I've beaten the main story 3 times, and I've done a lot of post-game twice. The 3rd time I was on that low-level run I was talking about earlier, or last episode, I think. Oh yeah, by the way, here you can see if you move into water, unless you have certain abilities that make you able to walk on water, you cannot do anything. You can move there, and you can move away from it again, but you cannot fight from within water. Anyway, yeah, the 3rd time around I was doing almost no side missions, just a very few select ones, and so I was really low level and I did not want to do late game anyway. Because after you beat the game, you don't get a game over screen and, you know, fine, you're done, you just kind of get plonked back on the map, and if there's anything you still want to do, you can do it. Which I like. For certain kinds of games, at least, it works quite well. Thinking of a game like Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy X it was? I actually don't remember. I know I played that, but it's been so long. I think once you defeat the final boss, it's just over. I seem to recall, yeah, the story kind of demands it. I mean, you go back to your own world, don't you? Interesting. Anyway, there are some games which basically say, okay, you've beaten the final boss, it's now over. Lost Odyssey, for example. I know in that game it was the case. You beat the final boss, okay, fine. The game is now over. There's no new game plus. Your save game is now not useless, but you finished the game, you're done. In other games, after you've kind of finished them, you get put into a free roaming mode, if you like. So, you know what, do whatever you like. And this is one of those games. And after you've beaten the sort of story mode boss, final encounters, whatever, there's actually some new missions that still pop up. So there really is end game that it is worthy of the name, and you do actually want to do it if you're trying to get to kind of 100%. I mean, any definition of 100% is arbitrary. You might say, unless you've gotten 99 of every item and gotten every character, every possible class, and gotten every possible skill on everyone, that's not 100%. Others might say you just need to have done all the missions, or maybe unlocked all the characters or whatever. Yeah, it's kind of arbitrary. To me, 100% means doing all missions and possibly unlocking all side characters. I'm not so sure if I would even include that. Probably would, though. Again, 100% is always arbitrary. My definition of 100%, for example, for this game would not include getting all the weapons. And it would not include getting all the skills and all the characters. Because some skills are fine to get, but there's some classes... I think most noticeable it is the Blue Mage. That's the most tedious one to actually finish, because you need to be hit by a monster ability for you. Your Blue Mage needs to be hit by a monster ability to be able to learn it. And there are some monster abilities which are very infrequent. There are some which you can eventually completely miss, because the enemies that could use it do no longer spawn. And there are some which are kind of just tedious to get. There is one, for example, we will actually see that next episode, but yeah, I'll talk about it then, actually. So you can see it so you can see what I mean anyway. But yeah, learning certain monster abilities on the Blue Mage is a pain, because you need to bait that attack on the Blue Mage. And I know I've once spent over an hour in a battle. I think it might have actually been this particular one. The Goblin knows a move called Goblin Punch, I believe, which does random damage. And I wanted my Blue Mage to be hit by that. So I kind of moved my Blue Mage in range. And moved everyone out of range. And the Goblin would just use standard attacks. He would not do the Goblin Punch. And eventually I would have to go in and heal the guy. And then the Goblin would suddenly decide, oh, you know what, I'm going to attack that healer instead. and move towards my healer. And then it took me at least 10 minutes to get him to even aggro onto the blue mage again, and then he stopped doing his goblin punch. He kept doing it all the time on the healer and not doing it on the blue mage. So yeah, it can be very, very tedious to get a blue mage certain skills. I am not going to do that. I thought I was going to, but yeah, just remembering that hour-long encounter, which I had to eventually just say, you know, screw it, it's not gonna happen. I don't know, I don't want to do that for this LP. I just don't have the time. It's not realistically going to happen. Someone has nagged me quite a few times to continue recording this, so I'm going to. But yeah, time constraints. I just have to keep those in mind, basically. I must have been talking about something here because I'm not actually doing anything. Sadly, because the recording was lost, I am not able to know what I was talking about. I mean, I did record a microphone input. It's just so quiet that you cannot understand what I'm saying at all, really. And if I boost it to the point where you can understand some of it, the background noise will be unbearable. So yeah, again, sorry about the post commentary, it was entirely my fault. I'm not blaming the software, I set it up, I didn't check the settings, it defaulted to bad settings, but there's nothing I could do about it. It was completely my fault. I don't know what I'm doing here, probably just checking missions. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the episode anyway. Again, there will be post commentary for the next one as well. But then we will be back into LiveCom for anything that follows. So, yeah. I guess. Bye-bye.